This week, something happened inside Buckingham Palace that nobody saw coming. Prince Harry is coming home. After 4 years away, after a funeral, after a coronation, after one quiet cup of tea, that changed everything. Everyone thought this was the reunion, but nobody noticed the one detail buried underneath the headlines. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's really happening behind the walls of the royal family right now. Stay until the end. Before we go anywhere, I need you to hold on to 2 questions. Question 1. Question 2. Let's go back to January 2020. Harry and Meghan step back from royal duties. This week, something happened inside Buckingham Palace that nobody saw coming. Prince Harry is coming home. After 4 years away, after a funeral, after a coronation, after one quiet cup of tea that changed everything, Harry is finally set to walk back on a British soil with his wife and children by his side. Everyone thought this was the reunion, the healing, the photo opportunity the world has been waiting for since 2020. But nobody noticed the one detail buried underneath the headlines. A detail about security, silence, and a set of conditions that could decide whether Meghan and the children even get on that plane at all. By the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's really happening behind the walls of the royal family right now. The timeline nobody connected, the demand nobody explained properly, and the one decision that could either end this royal war or make it permanent. Stay until the end, because the last 20 seconds of this video will change how you see everything that comes before it. Before we go anywhere, I need you to hold on to 2 questions. Don't worry about the answers yet. We're going to come back to both of them, and when we do, it's going to hit differently. Question 1. Why is Prince Harry's own security team still fighting the British government years after he already lost in court? Question 2. Why did King Charles offer Harry a room inside Buckingham Palace? And why did Harry say no? Hold on to those questions. We'll come back to both. For now, let's go back to where this whole story actually starts, because you can't understand this week without understanding the last 6 years. Let's go back to January 2020. Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. In their own words, later in interviews and in Harry's memoir, they described a mix of tabloid intrusion, institutional racism claims, online abuse, and a desperate need for independence, both financial and emotional. They left for North America and eventually settled in California. At the time, almost nobody believed the split would last this long. It's now been more than 6 years, but it did last, and it's still going. Think about what that actually means. 6 years of Christmas cards instead of Christmas dinners. 6 years of the world watching 2 families who share the same blood entire lives on opposite sides of an ocean. That's not just a headline. That's an entire childhood. Archie and Lilibet have spent almost all of their lives without their British grandfather being part of their everyday world. Fast forward to 2022. Queen Elizabeth II dies. Harry flies back for the funeral. It's the first time in years the family stands together in public. Cameras capture brief, tense moments between Harry and William as they walk side by side behind their grandmother's coffin. They don't speak. Their eyes stay forward. According to royal sources, the 2 brothers haven't had a meaningful private conversation since then. Here's what many people missed. It wasn't a reunion. It was a ceasefire. A funeral has a strange power over families. It forces people who can barely stand being in the same room to stand together anyway. For the sake of appearances. For the sake of grief. For the sake of someone they all loved. But a ceasefire isn't peace. It's simply a pause. Then came 2023. Charles was crowned king. Harry attended alone. Meghan remained in California with the children, reportedly because it was Archie's birthday. Harry arrived. He fulfilled his royal duty. Then he left the country less than a day later. No private family dinner. No smiling family photograph. No sign that old wounds had healed. Just duty completed. Distance resumed. That became the image most people remembered. A father and son separated by more than geography. Then came something nobody expected. King Charles announced he had cancer. Suddenly, the royal feud stopped being the biggest story. His health became the focus instead. And then something happened behind closed doors. Last September, while undergoing treatment, King Charles and Prince Harry quietly met for tea at Clarence's house. It was their first face-to-face conversation in 19 months. There were no cameras, no official photographs, no lengthy palace statement. Just 2 men sitting together after nearly 2 years of silence. Royal watchers immediately asked the same question. Was this the beginning of reconciliation? Or was it simply a father trying to reconnect with his son while facing one of the hardest moments of his life? Remember that meeting, because we're coming back to it. Which brings us to today. Harry is expected back in Britain within days for a 5-day visit filled with both public and private engagements. And that's where the real story begins. Here's the fact almost everyone keeps skipping. This isn't really a story about family. It's a story about security. Since 2020, when Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties, his police protection in the United Kingdom was downgraded by the government body responsible for VIP security, known as RAVEC, the Royal and VIP Executive Committee. That wasn't a palace decision. It was a government decision. Harry challenged that ruling in court. Last year, he lost. Since then, he's been waiting for another review from RAVEC's Risk Management Board. As this trip approaches, that review still hasn't been completed. But here's the detail that changes everything. Without government-funded protection, Harry reportedly submitted a new request for police security specifically for this visit. According to CNN, his team was informed that the level of protection requested for his family would not be provided. That single decision became the turning point for everything that followed. Not a family argument, not a palace snub, a government committee, one security assessment, and a decision that could determine whether Meghan and the children travel at all. Think about how unusual that is. A prince cannot simply bring his wife and children back to his own country because a security review hasn't been approved. That's the part of the story that rarely makes the headlines. But it's the part that decides everything. Now let's look at what has actually been reported. According to CNN, Harry hoped to bring Meghan and their 2 children for this 5-day visit. But concerns over security placed those plans into serious doubt. A spokesperson for Harry also confirmed that his security team continued exploring every possible option to make the visit work. There was also confusion about where the Sussex family would stay. Some reports suggested they would divide their time between private accommodation and a royal residence. Later, Buckingham Palace publicly stated that it had not even been confirmed whether Harry had accepted the king's invitation. Think about that for a moment. Even something as basic as where they would sleep became unclear. That tells you just how fragile the entire arrangement still is. When even the logistics remain uncertain, it suggests that trust hasn't fully returned. But that isn't even the strangest part of this story. Because while questions about security were still unresolved, another place suddenly entered the conversation. Not Buckingham Palace, not Windsor Castle, a completely different home. And that changed the direction of the story once again. According to reports from People magazine and later discussed by Fox News, Harry and Meghan were also considering staying at Althorp House. Althorp isn't just another country estate. It's the ancestral home of Princess Diana's family. Then another detail caught everyone's attention. Althorp House was scheduled to close to visitors on July 10th and 11th. Those dates matched the period Harry and Meghan were expected to be in Britain. The estate never confirmed it was for the Sussex family. But the timing immediately sparked speculation. Then came the emotional connection. The visit would take place only days after what would have been Princess Diana's birthday. If Harry and Meghan stayed there, their children would be sleeping in the same home where Diana spent much of her childhood. For many royal watchers, that possibility carried enormous emotional weight. According to one royal commentator speaking to Fox News, Althorp offered something Harry and Meghan value above almost everything else. Privacy, complete control over their family, away from palace rules, away from public attention. But here's another detail many people overlooked. King Charles had reportedly already offered accommodation on a royal estate. Separate reports also claimed he had previously offered Harry a room inside Buckingham Palace itself. Harry didn't accept that option. Publicly, no official explanation has been given. Maybe it was about privacy. Maybe it was about security. Maybe Harry simply wanted neutral ground for his family. Whatever the reason, one thing remains clear. The offer was made, and Harry chose another path. Now let's shift gears, because this story isn't just family drama. There's a legal battle underneath all of it. The security dispute isn't just another headline. It's the reason Harry has spent years inside British courtrooms. When he lost his Court of Appeal challenge against the Home Office, it wasn't simply a legal defeat. It became the reason his family's safety during this visit is still being questioned. Every headline about accommodation, family meetings, and reconciliation sits on top of that one unresolved issue. Without it, none of the rest of this story would exist. Strip away all the tabloid headlines, and what remains is a legal process that has quietly lasted through funerals, a coronation, and even the king's cancer diagnosis. And it's still not over. Now, let's return to the family itself. Because behind every legal document are real relationships. The first is between Charles and Harry. according to royal sources. The two have remained in quiet contact since their private tea meeting at Clarence House. Not fully reconciled, not completely estranged either. Somewhere in between. Careful, private, still healing. Then there's the relationship almost everyone believes remains the most difficult. Harry and William. According to Fox News and royal commentators, the brothers haven't shared a meaningful private conversation since Queen Elizabeth II's funeral in 2022. Since then, their relationship has remained distant. Some royal experts believe Harry privately regrets parts of what happened after his memoir and a Netflix documentary. Others say there are still no signs of a full reconciliation. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is clear. The distance between the brothers remains. Two boys who once shared a bedroom. Two young men who stood together behind their mother's coffin. Now, living completely separate lives. That part of the story has nothing to do with titles or palaces. It's simply about family. Then comes another layer. Public perception. Several British media outlets reported claims made by royal commentator Chloe Walker. According to those reports, Harry and Meghan allegedly agreed to certain conditions for any private family meetings. Those reported conditions included no filming of private moments and no interviews afterward. There were also claims that Meghan would avoid using the visit to promote her lifestyle brand. It's important to remember that these were claims made by commentators. They were not confirmed by Buckingham Palace. Another commentator, Rob Shooter, also claimed Queen Camilla wanted to be present during any meeting between King Charles and Harry. Again, that remains unconfirmed. Whether those reported conditions are completely accurate or not, they point towards something much bigger. Trust. After the Oprah interview, after the Netflix series, after Harry's memoir, both sides understand how quickly private conversations can become public headlines. That history alone explains why everyone involved is moving carefully. Now let's go back to something I asked you to remember earlier. That quiet meeting at Clarence House. 19 months of silence ended over one cup of tea. Many people saw it as a simple family visit. But according to royal sources, it became something much more important. It quietly reopened communication between father and son. No press conference, no public announcement, just two people talking. Sometimes the biggest turning points don't happen in front of cameras. Sometimes they happen behind closed doors. Now here's the twist that changes everything. For months, many people believed the biggest obstacle to reconciliation was emotional. Old arguments, old interviews, old wounds. But that's no longer the biggest obstacle. The biggest obstacle now is bureaucracy. It's RAVEC. It's the Risk Management Board. It's an unfinished security review. It's a government process that could ultimately decide whether Meghan and the children travel to Britain at all. The emotional story and the legal story have now become one. And as things stand today, nobody can say for certain how it ends. Think about that. One of the most talked about family reunions in the world may not depend on forgiveness. It may depend on paperwork. Meanwhile, Prince William has continued with his own public schedule. School events, official engagements, charity work. Life goes on, completely separate from the headlines surrounding Harry's visit. Some royal commentators believe this visit could still send an important message to both William and Charles. Whether that happens remains to be seen. For now, let's connect everything together. A family separated in 2020 over trust, privacy, and protection. A funeral in 2022 created a temporary ceasefire. A coronation in 2023 brought duty without reconciliation. Then a cancer diagnosis opened a quiet path back toward communication. Now, in July 2026, that fragile progress faces its biggest test yet. Not because of another argument, but because of security, because of legal procedures, because of decisions outside the family's direct control. Perhaps the biggest lesson is this. Real reconciliation rarely happens all at once. It happens through small moments. One conversation, one visit, one step at a time. The coming days will reveal whether those small steps continue. When Harry arrives, with or without Meghan and the children, the world will be watching. Not just to see who appears in photographs, but to see whether this family has finally begun closing the distance between them. Tomorrow, this entire story could change. And when it does, we'll break down exactly what has been confirmed. Not rumors, not speculation, just the facts. Because with the royal family, the headline rarely tells the whole story. The timeline always does. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next royal update.